Hey guys, it's Becky with Design Bundles, and I am super excited to welcome you into the Cricut world. So, a little birdie told me that you may or may not have a fabulous new Cricut machine, or maybe you're thinking about getting one. Maybe you're going to ask for one for Christmas or your birthday. It is never, ever too early to get started. So, first of all, let me just say, this is a wonderful world you're diving into, and there are so many resources available to make it easy to just really immerse yourself into the culture, dive on in, and get to creating those projects. So, with that being said, the first thing that you need to learn above anything and everything else is how to work in the software. So, I always believe that once you can get the basics of the software down, the rest of it will just come naturally, because this machine, this beautiful, wonderful machine, knows how to take over and do what needs to be done. So let's go ahead and dive into the software, and we'll talk about just some basics that you need to know. And remember, the software is free. So even if you haven't made the plunge into buying your Cricut machine yet, that's okay. Go ahead and download that software so that you are fully prepared when the time comes to make that purchase.
Okay, so you have your brand new Cricut machine and you are ready to get started. The first thing that you need to do is find and download the software. So open your basic web browser and you can just go to Cricut.com. Now once the web page loads, please note that Cricut Design Space used to be all cloud oriented, so you could only access the design space online. That is not the case, however, anymore. So what we're going to do is you can choose Design over here on the right-hand side. Cricut's going to take you to where you can download the software straight to your computer, or you can still access the design space for web. That part is completely up to you. I do recommend going ahead and downloading. It just makes it more convenient to access on your computer, and there is still some functionality that you would be able to access without the internet. So download to your computer, open it up, or if you're not ready for that, you can proceed to the cloud-based service over here. Now, once you download and set up your software, you do sign up for an account. It is real quick and easy. There's not a whole lot that you need to do with that. This is going to be your home screen. This is where you will natively go when you open the software. Now, you will first notice you have this menu up here. You also have some shortcuts for projects. This is your machine selection. This is your, say, design space menu. You can select where you go, home, canvas, and then there are a few details down here where you can go through the new machine setup, calibration, manage custom materials, firmware, your account details. If you have any cartridges from an older style of Cricut machine, you can link those here. Your Cricut access settings, you kind of get the idea. I'm not going to go through each one individually, but I do want to say the most common that you'll use right here will be going back and forth between home and canvas. And then, of course, if you're brand new to the Cricut machine, you will go through the new machine setup. All of that is very easy, very intuitive. Cricut has made everything just basically plug and play, and I really love that about their machines and their software. Now, you'll also notice here along the top, you will get a little preview of some projects that they have available for you, and a lot of times any sales that they have going on will pop up here as well. Scrolling down a little bit, you'll notice these are titled My Projects. These are projects that you have uploaded or worked on in the recent past. Now there is Cricut Access projects, and Cricut Access is a paid membership. It's not super expensive, but you are restricted with what you can use these for. So before you jump on board and decide to subscribe, it's a recurring monthly fee. Make sure you really look into that and know what you're getting into. As a beginner, I'm sure it has a lot of benefits, but as you proceed in your Cricut journey, it will eventually start to limit you. So just know one way or the other that is available to you, along with ready-made projects. And as you scroll down, they'll just start to offer you some inspiration on things that you can do with your Cricut cutting machine. Now, as a designbundles.net user, the most common place that you will go will be to start a new project. Okay, so this is your basic design space canvas. This is kind of where the magic happens, so to speak. You will spend the majority of your time over here on the left-hand side and along the top toolbar. Now, we'll just work our way from top to bottom. Design Space has templates. These are available to you. Now, these do not directly affect your project. These are simply for a visual reference. I personally do not use them, but it just is another tool that you have in your arsenal. The projects, this is more of the Cricut Access designs that I was telling you about. These are inspiration for finished projects that you can come and find. You can favorite and share those as well as fonts. Of course, you can download and install fonts on your computer, and you can also get them from Cricut. If I click over to System Fonts, I will be able to choose the fonts that I want to use, and they will update here in my text area. Now, I like to get my fonts from fontbundles.net because then I do get the full commercial usage license. So just something to keep in mind when selecting your fonts. You can also control your fonts by using the tools available on your workspace and the tools that are available to you up here. Another important thing to notate is if you choose a script font, there will be some hand modification that you need to do, and that's okay. It's just something that you need to be aware of. Remember that script fonts are meant to mimic cursive writing. So the first thing to notate is that your letters are not connected. You can do this a few ways. You can use the toolbar up here to change your letter spacing, and this will bring your letters closer together. And this usually does the trick, but in case it doesn't, I'll show you another way. You can also right-click on your font and choose Ungroup, and that will separate all your letters individually so that you can move them where they need to go. Now, once your letters are connected, you need to make sure, right now they are set up to cut into each other. Let me show you what that looks like. See how there's still that divide between your letters? That is not what we want. So the first thing that we're going to do is we want to weld them together. There we go. Now they are a cohesive and unbroken line. That is how you want to cut script letters. You always want to make sure that they are overlapping as they would if you had written them by hand, and then you want to make sure that you have welded them together. The next toolbar is your shapes. You can use squares, circles, triangles, you get the idea. These are available for your use. They are helpful when you are designing, and they are also helpful when you are sizing a project. So just something to keep in mind. And last on your toolbar, but definitely not least, is your upload option. Now the upload option is where you are going to come when you have purchased or downloaded free files. Now the file that we're going to work with in particular is one that I grabbed for free over at designbundles.net. I always recommend beginners to check out that area. I will go ahead and grab the SVG document, and you'll see it imports perfectly fine. Now you can rename it here, and you can also give it some tags if you would like. The tags just help to make it easier to search and find later on. I'm going to click on that file. Now I can select more than one, but I don't need to. And just choose Insert Images down at the bottom. Oh, let's go ahead and get rid of that hello right there. and see how that imported a little larger than I normally would need. So let's go ahead and talk about these options up here at the top. Now, my most favorite option of all time is the undo button, because you can pretty much undo anything that you have done in the recent past. You can also redo if you need to. You can change the fill if you need to. Now remember that changing the fill does not change the color that the vinyl is going to cut. If you're cutting vinyl, obviously it will cut whatever color you load into your machine, but changing the color can be useful if you're planning to print. This is also where you change from no fill to print if you want to. And if you change to print, you also can access the pattern options. If you choose edit, you have the basic cut, copy, and paste. You do have some align options. Let me put a shape on here for you. Now, if I've selected 2 or more shapes, my align options open. I have align left, right, center, horizontally, anything of that nature. I also have the arrange. I can move forward, I can send backwards, that sort of thing. And if I need to, I have a flip option, horizontal or vertical. Let me get rid of this square. I do not need it at this exact moment. And here is the size option. If you do not want to size by hand, this is really useful. So for example, I know for her shirt, I need 7 inches wide, so I can just type in 7 inches and Cricut Design Space will take care of the rest. Now we do have a few other options over here on the right hand side. We have slice, weld, attach, and flatten. Most importantly, what you need to know, see how all of these are broken out into separate layers. If I were to click over to make it, it splits up my design. That's okay, there's nothing wrong with the file. We will go back to our canvas. All it means is that we need to attach these together. And that way, Cricut Design Space knows, hey, I need all these to cut just the way that they are. And now when I choose Make It, it keeps them all together. Now let's also notate if I was going to cut this in different colors. Let me just give you a quick example. I'm going to ungroup these. And say I were to cut, so apparently in gray. I would then want to attach those individually. And now when I come to make it, it splits it up into 2 separate cutting mats for me. That is really, really useful, but in case you import an SVG that is in multiple colors and you are trying to cut it all in one color, just know that even in multiple colors, you can just click attach. It will change them all to one color so that way they're all back on the same cutting mat. So just a few things to notate that you may run into when using and cutting SVG files. Now when we're ready to make it, we can come over here. We can select the material size that we are cutting. Of course, you have several options available to you. If you're cutting heat transfer vinyl, you have the option to mirror your design. That is very, very useful. Once you're ready with your preview and you're happy with how it looks, you can choose Continue at the bottom. Now this is where your machine will connect to your software. And this is also where you will select the material that you want to use. I always say that learning to use the software is the harder part, because once you learn to use the software, you can pretty much use these defaults to cut any type of material that you want to. I can cut this in vinyl, cardstock, heat transfer vinyl, felt, cotton, infusible ink. There are so many options. And if you choose Browse Materials, Cricut has an entire library of materials that you can choose from. Once you select your material, it now will tell you what tool you need to have loaded, and it'll instruct you to load your mat with your material on it, where you can then proceed to cut. Once you're finished cutting, you can come back to your canvas And you'll see everything is just how you left it. You can proceed to cut this as many times if you want to. You can also save this as a project. I'll give it a name, and once I hit save, this will be saved in my projects going forward. So if I come back to my home area, now you will see my attitude shirt has been saved. If I wanted to make this again, I could simply choose make it, and it would cut in the exact same size, or I can choose customize to open it back into the canvas and make any adjustments that I need to.
So, what do you guys think? I mean, it's pretty basic. Cricut really makes it easy for you and how everything just flows in the software and it's literally all right there at your fingertips. You do not have to go looking for anything. They have a very smooth workflow, and once you conquer it, it will be second nature. It'll be just like breathing. You'll be cranking out those projects in no time. So, thanks for joining me today. I really, really hope that you enjoyed the video, and be sure to subscribe to the channel, check out some of the other videos that we have, and you'll really see all the creativity that these machines can unlock.